Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is another live stream. In this case, I'm going to be live streaming more again about, well, basically playing off the same project I've been playing off the last few live streams, which is an Express project. But in this case, I'm going to be focusing more on JSX. JSX is a syntax that's used in React, Express React Views, Kofu.js, and several other different frameworks. And what JSX is, it's kind of a way to describe HTML templates in JavaScript without having to worry too much about like template strings and all this stuff. It just kind of allows you to type HTML right there in there, and then it'll generate all the proper DOM nodes and children nodes and do all that DOM stuff for you. So let me share my screen. Application window, index.js. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this index component in this project. Okay. Actually, I'll just clear this whole thing out. First, just reacquaint ourselves with what we're doing here. Again, this is an Express project. And let me actually just get a terminal opened up in that folder. Okay, good. So basically, just to kind of go back to our server file. Okay, so we have our middleware set up, so that way it uses the Express React Views engine. And then I have my index route. Okay, and here's my index route, which renders the index.jsx file. Okay, so it's going to go into my views folder and look for that index.jsx, which is right over here. And again, I'm sending it an object with a property called hello. That just says hello world. I probably won't really even be using that at the moment. Okay. So again, when you're using Express React Views, how do I do this? First, I have to bring in React. So it'd be const React equals require React. And then we could just use it that way. I'm going to destructure the things I plan on using from React. So I'm going to do something like this, const. So that way I don't have to type react.component, react.fragment, react.this. So I'm going to just create a second line and do this. I'm going to want to destructure component from React, and I'm also going to want to destructure fragment. Okay, so that way I don't have to type those out separately. Like instead of typing in react.component and react.fragment every time I need it, I'm just going to destructure it from the React object. Cool. Okay, so I've done that. And then again, I'm going to be creating an index component. So I'm just going to just get this out of the way. Module.exports equals index. Okay, save. Now there are two ways I could write the syntax for this component. I could do it as a class, which in this case I would have to do class index extends component. And then inside that component, there's going to be a function. That's the function that whenever they render the component, actually like tells React what to build there, like what HTML elements to make. And that's called the render function, which takes no parameters. And then, well, I can do whatever I want here. So I'm just going to actually create an array real quick, just so we have it for later. Const my array equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, just so that we have that. But what really matters is what this function returns. This has to return a JSX value, okay? And some rules in writing JSX. If you're only writing one HTML tag, so if I'm just returning h1 hello world, if that's all I'm returning, I don't need parentheses because that's fine. It's just one thing. But if I plan on doing many HTML elements, you're going to want to wrap it in parentheses. Okay, so after the return, in parentheses. And one of the rules of JSX is there has to be one parent element. So basically, because what React does, it takes whatever the first element is and then builds everything else as a child of that element. So there can only be one parent element. So I can't have like two divs at the same level. Like I can't do this. H1, and then another H1 right after that. Okay, because you see here, one is not the child of the other. So I'm going to run into an error. So I think that's what this is about. See, JSX expressions must have one parent element. There is a way to get around this, though. The easiest thing to do is just put in a fragment. Okay, and then by putting in the fragment, okay, you can put in whatever you want in there, and you don't have to worry about. Now I could put the two H1s next to each other because that fragment acts as the parent element. So that's the easy way. So I just always just wrap everything in a fragment because that way I don't have to think about it. Aside from that, everything kind of works the same. You just type in normal HTML. Okay. The only couple nuances to keep in mind is that because of the word class is a reserved word in JavaScript, like again, in JavaScript, it's going to see this word class and it thinks, oh, you mean like a class, like an object, like object-oriented programming. It's not like HTML where HTML sees the word class and it thinks, oh, you mean like a class, like CSS. So in that case, when I want to put in a class on my H1, I have to do it slightly differently. So instead of doing class, I have to do class name, then put in my class. Okay. So that's the thing. Okay, so these are just the little minor differences between JSX and just writing pure HTML. So that's one of them. Okay, when you write class, another one is if you wanted to do like inline styles. So normally when you're in HTML, you can just do a style like this. So instead of naming a class, I could just define the style of the element by just doing this. Style equals color orange, and then that would work. In JSX, you have to do it slightly differently. You don't pass in a string, you have to pass it in an object. So first we need curly brackets that shows that we're interpolating, which means we're going back into JavaScript world. Then I need another curly bracket because I'm putting in an object with all my styles. And then I have to put in my styles in there. So it'll be like color orange. Okay. And then I can just do that with all my different styles. So I could do display, background color, but I have to pass it in as an object to that style property. Okay, so that's sort of another sort of difference between just writing normal HTML and writing JSX. Okay, and I mean, I could, now as far as attaching other CSS style sheets, right now, since we're in Express React views, we would need to set up the Express public folder. Okay, it's a discussion for another time at the moment. Okay, if you haven't seen my Express playlist, I highly recommend watching that. But again, I could now, or they use a class. I'll just leave it at that. Now, one of the benefits of templating always is being able to loop over things. So that way you don't have to write like H1 over and over and over again. So what if I wanted to create an H1 for each of these things in this array? Now, unlike other templating options like EJS and handlebars and mustache, that basically, well, it's similar but different. In those languages, you can exit using, so basically EJS, you're using that weird like curly brackets, parentheses, percentage sign, handlebars, I think you're using 3 curly brackets, and then in mustache, you're using 2 curly brackets. But the idea is that it escapes you into JavaScript. So you can use JavaScript within that. In the same way I can use JavaScript within these curly brackets in JSX. The thing is that in JSX, the JSX is the type of data. So that whole like JSX with all the HTML, that's a piece of data. So what I need to do is take my array and turn it into an array of JSX elements. Okay, that's a little bit different than those other languages where you just loop over something. So how would I do that? Okay, so let me just get rid of that. First, I would escape into JavaScript. Again, that's what the curly brackets do. They always say, hey, we're no longer just writing JSX. Now you're writing JavaScript, and any valid JavaScript expression can be put in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the array, my array, and I'm thinking, okay, what function can I use that takes an array and returns another array? Map. So I do dot map, go value, which would be the value each loop. So again, you're looping over an array and then creating a new array out of it. So then what I'm saying is that we're going to loop over the value, and every time we loop, I'm going to create an H1 JSX element that has the value in it. Okay, so that's what that does. So now, if I were to save this, and let's go run the server. So npm run dev, because we set up the dev tag. I'm pretty sure we set up a dev script on this one. Okay, npm run dev, that's running the server. Let me go open up Chrome. Okay. Let's see here. Share Chrome. Chrome's right here. Okay, see some comments. So component fragment React just means whatever we're using. Component fragment is essentially the same as React. That is exactly right. Let me just show that comment. Okay, so this is correct. This is what's referred to as destructuring. Okay, so basically what we're doing is that when you put the curly brackets around those variable names, you're just saying create new variable names, and we're going to get the data for these variables out of an object on the other side of the equal sign. So it's going to go inside the React object, look for a property called component, and store it in the component variable. It's going to go look inside the React object and look for that fragment variable and store it inside. So that's a thing it does. I have a video called Destructuring Masterclass on YouTube. Highly recommend it. It's half hour of me just showing you every cool destructuring trick there is, and there's some cool ones. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go to the server, localhost 3000. I literally just woke up like 10 minutes ago, so I am groggy. And see, it works. See, it looped over. So you created an H1 for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's how you loop over stuff in JSX. You're going to use the map function. Because what you're doing is you're returning an array of JSX elements, which then React renders to the screen. Okay? So there you go. So basically what we've learned so far. One, there always has to be a parent element. Okay? When you're styling, style tags need to take an object, not a string. When you're using a class property, you have to put class name in camel case, not just class. And for you put a map. You use map to iterate over different things. And again, you can use anytime you need to do anything JavaScripty, you just use the curly brackets. And this is where things become super useful. Like I can do something like this. Like let's just do something a little bit more complicated. So bear with me just one moment. I'm gonna get rid of this particular JSX expression. And instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna return first I'm gonna exit into JavaScript world. Actually, I need to do that. First I need to do the parentheses so it knows it's JSX. And I'm gonna escape it back into JavaScript world. Okay, so I go into JSX with the parentheses, then I go back to the JavaScript world with the curly brackets, and then I'm going to do a ternary operator. So if value is less than 4, question mark, and if value is less than 4, let's see if I write this right, h1 less than 4, I have to wrap those in parentheses, but I'll come back to that. And if it's false, h1 4 or more. Okay, so I have a ternary operator saying value is 4. I want to make sure these are JSX elements. I'm going to wrap these in parentheses. This starts seeing a lot of parentheses and parentheses after a while. The way this should read is, again, each time we're going to render value. If value is less than 4, render less than 4. If not, it's going to render h1 4 or more. And this is as it maps over the values. There's some squiggly lights, declaration or statement expected. Just make sure that all my parentheses match up. So we got a parentheses there. Then should be a curly bracket. I think I have an extra parenthesis there. Let me think about that. That matches up with that. That matches up with that. And that matches up with that. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so let me save it. I think the errors are in error because, again, it doesn't recognize JSX super well sometimes. So let's go back to Chrome. Oh, oops. I didn't realize I forgot to switch my screen. My bad. Let me share my screen real quick so you guys can see the code. Okie dokie. So basically, this is what I did. Okay, so basically now it's returning at this ternary operator where it says if value is less than 4, h1 is less than 4, h1 is 4 or more. So that's sort of, again, just showing you sort of crazy stuff you can do in JSX. You can create really complex statements. Let me go back to Google Chrome and let's see if this works. Okay, share screen. Chrome. And let's refresh. Error. That's what I thought. Okay. Let me go back to Visual Studio Code. I think I tried to be too complicated. Too early in the morning. Okay, let's see here. Const myArray.map. See here, that, yes, value. And then each time it's going to return. Actually, here, I'm going to do this differently. Let's just erase this whole JSX piece. Okay, instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do H1 and wrap the H1. This makes more sense. And then do the ternary operator for what's inside the text. So then if value is less than 4, then we will print, what we'll go here is the string less than 4. And if that's false, then the string 4 or more will go there. That makes a lot more sense. That's simpler. Okay, so it's an H1, and what's inside the H1 changes depending on what the number is. There we go. And then let's switch over to Chrome. No more morning live streams. Being groggy is not helpful. Okay, so here we go. We just refresh and see it works. Okay, so what it does is each time it creates an H1, but what's inside that H1 is based on that ternary operator I plopped in there. So you can do fun stuff with JSX. Allows you to, again, not have to type a lot to get a lot. But that's some of the little nuances of JSX. I think I'm going to stop now unless there's any other questions. Let me just go back to my Visual Studio. But yeah, and then let's actually show you how I would write this as a function. So if I were to write the same thing as a function, basically instead of writing it as a class, I would just take care of it, get rid of this, get rid of render here. Essentially what happens is that I would just write a function, const index equals, and then props goes inside as a parameter. And then I would just wrap all this in the curly brackets. There you go. It's the same thing, just as a function instead of a class. Okay, it just takes up a few less lines, which is why a lot of people prefer writing function components. But a lot of the older code is all class components, but this should work exactly the same. So if I go to Brain, Chrome. Now I hit refresh. See, it still works the same. It's not going to change. So that's just to show you that you can do function components, and they work the same way for the most part. The only difference would be with props, but if you haven't seen the previous live streams, I kind of go over that there. So with that, I will call it a day. Ciao.